old.
Plus, he's not so sad about trading in his big suburban yard for a historic Amsterdam canal.
We're on a canal, and you know, from every window of the house, you can look right onto the water. It's absolutely the epitome of the culture here.
If you live in Amsterdam, you want to be in a canal.
Yeah.
And there's no garage either. That's because there's no car.
Usually the biggest challenge for someone coming from a different country is moving from a car to a bike. It was a big, big change. Everything you do is by bike, whether it rain, sleet, or snow. You just man up and do it, you know, and it's the way we live. It's about being open to the culture here, and it's not the States, and you got to get over that real quick. All right, and here it is.
This view is phenomenal.
Yeah, we decided we wanted an open kitchen, very much like we have in the States. That was the first thing we did, is we tore down the wall and completely gutted the kitchen.
So what did your neighbors think when they saw this big American fridge?
They come over and they want to hug the fridge because they miss it, and they're like, oh, pretty fridge. We definitely got the oversized refrigerator with the ice maker, and that's a bonus in this town.
You didn't carry it up those stairs, did you?
We didn't touch it, but the movers moved it in through the front window, which is even better. Yeah, they got the pulley out and with the rope, and they lifted it up, and I just stood by and took pictures.
A dramatic moving situation, and an even more dramatic reason that they bought the place.
This view is breathtaking. You see historic churches down here, people riding their bicycles, and of course you have the canal. This is the epitome of Amsterdam living.
It's the true Dutch lifestyle. We really do enjoy it.
We got it all. We have the view, the canal, the bikes parked downstairs.
Remember, this is a 300-year-old converted warehouse. So when they moved in, of course, something was a little off.
You'll notice it's even leaning just a little bit.
Right.
We were told by the inspectors it's a good lean, right? That we're okay. Watch this, and this is quite funny. I think in the States, that would not be a good thing to have with your house.
So you let that happen,
Yeah.
and then you said, I will take the
We'll
house
take
anyway.
it. Yes.
Hardwood floors are popular here, but what's surprising is where the wood came from.
The story that was told to us by the owners that were here before, they came off an old ship, Dutch ship. You'll see, supposedly these are the burn marks from pots and pans, and you can just see really the history in the floors.
Jeff and Nydia have no outdoor space, but they've adopted the bottom floor where everybody knows their names.
I love your extended living room.
Yeah, well, we hired a decorator for it, and we're really happy with what they did as well. It's fantastic. Yeah,
It's too convenient.
Yeah, too convenient.
Now,
Yeah.
go down the stairs and...
You know, back in the States, you have so much space where people tend to spend time outdoors in their own backyards and invite people over. So we just don't have that here, so we spend most of our time, you know, sitting out on the terraces when the sun's out and, you know, riding our bikes around the city, as, you know, we kind of talked about earlier, and then, you know, obviously spending time down here. The owner of the place is very friendly with all the neighbors and welcomes everyone in, and they got us on a monthly tab, too, which is a good idea until the bill comes. At the end of the month, you're like, I didn't order that.
Our next family got it for free in America, but they had to pay a high price for it in Amsterdam.
That's kind of a shock.
Yeah.
Would you be willing to pay? Amsterdam is Europe's fastest growing tourist destination, and its central location in Europe is also attracting businesses from around the world.
Well, there are hundreds of many big, famous international companies are based here in Amsterdam. It's a very good city to do business.
The Netherlands has always been a great place for the flower business. It's still the world's largest exporter of tulips, roses, and other blooms.
I love this flower mart. It's so full of color.
It's
so
beautiful.
Pretty.
Yeah. So many different shops, so much to offer.
The Bloemenmarkt is Amsterdam's oldest and largest place to buy them. It's right downtown and a trendy place to live, but not right for expats Steve and Roz Fremder.
And you guys are really tied to this place down here.
Yes, in fact, we almost bought a property here, and we thought it would be great to live down like in the middle of all of this. After we started looking around where we're going to walk the dogs, what day-to-day life would be like, we realized, we'd rather really be a little bit further out of town.
Instead, they bought a house 10 minutes outside the city center in the Old South neighborhood. It's a long way from Middle America. You could call Steve and his wife Roz the original Glee Club love story. They grew up in Dayton, Ohio, met in choir class, and became high school sweethearts. After they got married, they moved to Boston. And 2 years ago, Steve's boss offered him a dramatic choice of where to live.
I worked for a chemical company, and they had this project come up, and so the choice was New Jersey or Amsterdam. And
Amsterdam seemed like the better choice for us.
no offense to New Jersey.
So Steve, how did you find adjusting to living and working here in Amsterdam?
I thought it was a pretty easy adjustment, actually.
A lot of people call Amsterdam Europe light because it's like the easiest entry into European lifestyle for an American. And it really, for me, was an easy transition.
The biggest adjustment was leaving their 3,000 square foot Cape Cod-style home in the Boston area and downsizing into this 2,000 square foot, two-story row house worth $2 million. And they paid a little extra for a precious Dutch commodity, sunlight.
This is our living area, and I would say it's probably my favorite room in the house.
Oh my goodness, I can see why it feels so homey in here.
Well, thank you.
The light is spectacular.
You actually pay a premium, I think, to be on this side of the street, isn't
Yes,
it? Because
yes.
you get more sun that typically throughout any given month crosses this side of the windows.
Yeah, that was something we learned also, that the price of the home can be based on what type of sun that you get. And it does make a huge difference, especially in those winter months when it can be so gray and rainy during the day.
And the money you're saving for that rainy day, bring it to the closing, because you'll need it.
You have what they call the cost of kopen, or cost of sale, which you put about 8% in taxes to the government and fees right on the front. So you have to kind of get over that.
That's kind of a shock.
Yeah. But it's worth it. Again, it's a good lifestyle.
And that active lifestyle has a healthy payoff.
We do things that we never would have considered. We just went rowing down the Amstel River last weekend. We've never rowed in our lives.
Yeah, I dropped about 15 pounds when I first moved here. I did a lot of walking around the city, so I'm actually in the best shape of my life right now.
I now ride my bike, which I don't think I had done since I was 10, so that was quite an adjustment for me.
Steve, what is your favorite room?
My favorite room is the kitchen.
You must be quite the chef.
Actually not. It's my favorite room because of all the stuff Roz kicks out of it. So she's actually quite the chef.
Is there a type of food that you just crave from the United States that you can't find here?
Buffalo chicken wings. Absolutely cannot get those over here.
I love that there was no hesitation.
Yeah.
Buffalo chicken wings.
I think about them all the time.
Now, did you have to change the way that you actually get groceries and decide what you're going to cook for dinner and lunch?
Absolutely. And I was the geek in the grocery aisle with my translator trying to figure out what the labels said. So it was definitely a learning curve for me.
They even compromised with the size of their backyard. They went from a 6-acre yard in the States to this small patio. But what they get in return is worth it.
The Dutch have, again, welcomed us and embraced us. Our neighbors have been terrific. And we really find a real kind of quiet calm. The Dutch call it gezellig, the relaxed kind of natural, let it flow, and it works for us.
Yeah. And it does feel like home.
Our next family in Amsterdam gave up one big amenity.
In order to get all of this open space, that was the big trade-off.
Could you live without it? Amsterdam's one of the only cities on Earth where half the residents use their bikes every single day. So it's no surprise there are twice as many bikes as cars.
There are like 800,000 people living here in Amsterdam, and there are like 2 bikes to every person, so there's millions of them.
This is pretty awesome.
It's autumn in Amsterdam.
What are the rules exactly? Is it that the bicycle rules the road,
Well,
or is it that the car becomes
In
so much
Amsterdam,
stronger?
the bicycles, they rule the world. Oh, we're crazy. We drive like New York cab drivers. Only we're on a bike. And if you're a mom, you can get the big bicycles with the wooden crates in front. You can put the kids in. And you're a soccer mom.
You're doing great, Avani.
And trading a car for a bike is exactly what expat mom Pamela Nefrakara did after moving there with her son Abani.
Nice. That's biking in the Netherlands.
And just a 15-minute bike ride from the city center is her house near the hugely popular Vondel Park. It was Pamela's job in marketing at a major athletic company in Portland, Oregon that gave her a chance to live abroad.
I've always had the goal of living and working outside of the U.S. and the right job came along and it was just perfect.
The hard part was convincing her 9-year-old son Abani to come along for the short-term job.
I was really nervous because it's like you're moving to a whole nother continent, so really didn't know what to expect, but she convinced me to come along.
I think Avani took it just fantastic. I told him that our family was really ready for a move like this.
They gave up their 2,700 square foot house with a 3-car garage for this, a 2,500 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath row house worth $1.2 million.
We knew when we were coming to Amsterdam, we were coming to an urban environment. And Amsterdam is known as a very densely populated city, so I would say we went from living horizontally to living vertically.
Now, Abani attends an international school that's a quarter of the size of his public school in Portland.
I like the school here better because you get to meet people and kids from other places, and you get to experience different cultures and stuff like that.
Fortunately, her 3-story traditional row house was fully remodeled right before she moved in.
I don't expect an apartment this open and wide in Amsterdam.
Well, it's true, it is very unusual, and I think it was really the thing that attracted us to this home. It reminded us of a lot of American homes in that it functions just like a great room. There are definitely some things that are very different than our home in Portland.
And let me guess, they're all in the kitchen, right?
Absolutely.
Let's check this out.
In our kitchen in Portland, we had some beautiful double wall ovens. And now I've traded that for this, which is a combination microwave, oven, and grill. And it's only this big.
Wow, what can you cook in there? Can't do your roast and your cookies and have a pie in there warming? What's going on with that little oven?
Well, let's just say there will be no Thanksgiving turkey happening in this kitchen.
But to get this awesome open space, Pamela had to make one huge sacrifice.
There are no closets. That was the big trade-off. In order to get all of this open space, unfortunately, 0 closets in the entire home.
But there's a pantry or a door right there.
Yeah, that's what I had hoped as well, but actually, this is just our electric meter and cable and other utilities.
And it's like 5 inches deep.
Maybe.
Dutch row houses are tall and narrow because years ago they were taxed on the width of the houses. And that narrow construction created some treacherous conditions.
I gotta tell you, this doesn't feel like a staircase. It feels more like a ladder. It's so steep.
You're right, you do have to be very careful. And not only are they very steep, they're very narrow. But you have to remember, when these homes were built, there was no regulation around the rise and the tread. So what you have to do is come up sideways. That's the secret.
All right, how long did it take you to get used to a staircase like this?
Well, only a couple of months, but it did definitely take some getting used to. And here's the master bath. I have to say, it's not quite as big as what I was used to in the US, and there is one other trade-off, and that is I do have to share this with my son.
Ah, that explains the toys. That's Abani's.
I'm totally fine with it. As long as they're related to me, I really don't care who I share my bathroom with.
In addition to the tub, beautiful sink, wonderful shower, but there is one thing that's missing. In a lot of Amsterdam homes, the toilet is actually down the hall from the rest of the bathroom.
It takes some getting used to.
It's kind of like the stairs.
One of the main reasons they rented the place was location. It's right next to Vondel Park, the central park of Amsterdam.
We love hanging out in the park. I mean, not only is it a great place to ride your bike, but they're wonderful restaurants.
But do you guys really enjoy the food here?
I do take my food seriously.
His absolute favorite Dutch food, which are stroopwafels.
They're like these delicious little biscuits, and in the middle it's like caramel, and it's just so good. But beware, they can get addicted, and I would not recommend them if you're on a diet.
Yeah, I love how he gets exposed to so many different cultures, the food, languages. I mean, it's really been a real education for him.
So what do you think, Bonnie? Where are you off to next on your little expat experience?
I'm not that big on planning.
That's home wherever he is.
Yes, and he is so awesome.
Every house in Amsterdam has one, and they're not for decoration.
Coming up.
We'll tell you why next. The Netherlands is the second most crowded country in Europe, behind England. 20% of the people live below sea level. That's why Amsterdam is built literally on wooden poles. The weak, wet soil forced Dutch builders to drive wooden poles deep into the ground. They now use concrete and metal. Those poles support the homes. Every space along the canals has been built on them, no matter how tiny.
In the center you can buy a whole canal house, but they're sometimes very small, and they're like 4 or 5 floors.
So the Dutch have come up with creative ways to make their small spaces multifunctional. Like this apartment. It was 2 middle floor apartments merged into one. That's now 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and 1,200 square feet. While it's still technically 2 rooms and small for a family of 4, it transforms into 6 rooms. In the kitchen area, it functions as both a kitchen or a home office. And the children's play area can transform into 2 sleeping areas, one for the kids and one for the adults. And since homes in Amsterdam are so narrow, moving in and out takes more than muscle.
When you come to Amsterdam, you will notice a lot of hooks outside the fronts of the houses. And those hooks are used to move in and out furniture.
Okay.
So you cannot move through the staircase because, you know, the houses are quite small here in Amsterdam. It's a very compact city. So you need to move outside the house, through the window. And that's why they created the pulley system. And they put in everything from pianos to sofas.
That takes a lot of muscles to move
It
a
takes a
piano
lot
this
of
way.
muscle.
Kan jij me in je eentje takelen?
Yeah, it can be done with a few guys, strong men.
I don't even know this guy.
Coming up.
This is really typical Amsterdam, that it was part of the building regulations that every house should have a pulley system outside.
And then afterwards we drink beer and have pizza. Okay. The one whose house it is has to provide.
As more Americans move to Amsterdam, they soon realize it's a relatively easy transition.
Fortunately, Amsterdam's an easy city to move to from the US. English is the common language here, and that's usually the biggest challenge for someone coming from a different country, is not understanding the language.
The lifestyle really just suits us. It's a much more laid-back environment.
When you tell people from the States that you live in Amsterdam, you're automatically the coolest person in the room.